Well, hello. Are you ready for another calm business conversation? Um, Most of you know who I am, Kerstin Martin. I'm a Squarespace and calm business educator. All my life has been about, trying to stay calm. Whenever I make decisions in my life, the question is, does this make me feel calm? Or does this have the potential to make me feel calm? Because sometimes we have to go through the chaos to get to the calm. Now, calm business evolved as almost like a movement, for the last couple of years. It started with my calm business review that I publish every, at the end of the year. It's a free workbook, that helps people take stock of their business. And because information and knowing where we stand and knowing where we are is an important part of running a calm business. There are many components to this. One large component is that we are not into the hustle. We do not support hustle culture. Well, we don't want hustle culture because it doesn't make us feel calm. But another part is also how we run our businesses. So I'm all about streamlining and simplifying. It's, for instance, why I like using Squarespace as my all-in-one platform, because it just makes it easier to run my business just on one platform. Now, here today, I have Hans from Termageddon. And Termageddon are actually a big part of what makes my business calmer. Termageddon, and I'll let Hans introduce a little bit in a moment as well. But Termageddon is basically my privacy policy generator. And so my privacy policy, my terms of service, my disclaimer. Now, anything legal, most of us solopreneurs and one-person businesses, we're not legal experts, and it can be really daunting. And with the introduction of the GDPR a few years back, everyone scrambled, oh my gosh, what does this even mean? And as anyone knows, legal language is very complicated. It's never straightforward. And the problem is also that now it's not just about where your business is located and the laws that apply there. It's actually like global. Now it matters where your customer is located. And that just makes it so complicated, because now how are we going to keep up with all the laws around the world? It's like near impossible, unless you're like a legal geek or legal expert. And that's really when I discovered Termageddon. Until then, I had kind of, got a privacy policy from somewhere online, and I kind of just, crossed my fingers and hoped that it was okay. And but when I discovered Termageddon and realized that actually all I have to do is place a little bit of code onto my webpage, and then the policy is auto-generated every time someone goes to it, and Termageddon at their end keeps it all up to date. And oh my gosh, that I can tell you now, I never stress about being legally compliant. And with that, I'm actually going to hand over to Hans. So tell us a little bit more about how this even started. How did you get started with this business?
Well, thank you so much, Kerstin, for having me on. And it's always great chatting with you whenever we get an opportunity. And yeah, so I started Termageddon when I met my now wife. She was a girl I was just dating at the time. She's a privacy attorney, and I was an agency owner. So I built websites. I ran a 12-person agency in downtown Chicago, and we met, and over a dinner date, she told me what she did for a living. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I just copy and paste privacy policies whenever my clients ask me for one. And she goes, you realize how bad of a long-term strategy that is, right? And I said, yeah, that's a good point. So we got to talking. She was charging, what my clients can never afford for privacy policies. She was doing it right by the books, but there was people couldn't afford the, 10 grand a year to monitor privacy laws just to keep a privacy policy up to date. So we got to talk, and we ended up building Termageddon. And really, it was our intentions were to provide an alternative to a privacy attorney. So, we'll be the first people to say, if you can afford an attorney to draft your policies, monitor laws, and keep your policies up to date, of course, go that route. There's nothing that's better than having your attorney do this for you.
And I guess large businesses do that, right? Large corporations, and so it makes sense for them,
Exactly. If they have like a 5-person in-house legal privacy team, then they can just do it on their own. But the vast majority of business owners don't have those types of resources. So we created an alternative to a privacy attorney. So we're $119 a year. And we include a full set of policies for your website that help you comply with today's laws, but also develop that strategy to keep your policies up to date over time when new laws pass. And Kerstin, you nailed it. Privacy laws protect people. They don't care where your business is located. What matters is whose data are you collecting, because that will dictate what laws apply to you and what disclosures you need to make. So Termageddon's tool figures that all out and helps you, get proper policies onto your website.
Yeah, and I have to say, I think the price is actually pretty amazing. I mean, for complete legal peace of mind, it really is amazing. Now, when you go to your website, termageddon.com, I will have a link in the description. One of the things you say, protect your business from fines and things like that. Tell us a little bit more about that. What is the inherent risk, with the fines and all of that?
Yeah, so every privacy law is created by a government overseeing a bunch of people in different countries or states or continents, even for that matter. Privacy laws have their own unique definitions for noncompliance. Most privacy laws right now are fine-based, meaning you will be fined if you are found to be noncompliant with that respective law. I've seen companies get fined 60,000 euros for changing the email address of one of their subscribers without their consent. I've seen companies.
So you have actually seen that, because we don't have that much visibility unless, something makes the big news, but that is actually happening out there, huh?
Yes. And I think you nailed it. The big news covers the big companies that are getting fined billions of dollars. What isn't covered in the news are one-person marketing companies being fined 5 figures for noncompliance.
Okay.
So, and there's a website, I think it's called, if you Google search GDPR enforcement tracker, you'll find the domain. I'm pretty sure it's gdprenforcementtracker.com. But Google search GDPR enforcement tracker, and that one provides the most transparency into who's being fined under that particular privacy law. However, there's privacy laws all over the world at this point. California, for example, that's the next one that comes to mind. They just released their second privacy law. So they first had Cal OPA, and then they had CCPA, which got replaced by CPRA. And now the Attorney General, as I understand it, is building an entire team of government employees who are going to start fining businesses for noncompliance. And their fines start at $2,500 per website visitor whose rights you've infringed upon. So you get 10 visitors from California during that time period, and you get fined for 10 visitors. That's 10 times $2,500. So, and most people get more than 10 visitors from California. So yeah, it can get real nasty with these fines. And really, I think it just comes down to just respecting people's privacy rights. And that starts by explaining your privacy practices. And that's exactly what website policies can do.
Yeah, so I was actually going to ask, so how does then having an up-to-date policy protect me from these fines?
Yeah, so each privacy law has a very specific set of disclosures you're required to make under your privacy policy. Failure to provide those disclosures is basically step one at, wanting to avoid getting into trouble for noncompliance. Like if you have a noncompliant privacy policy, that's a pretty sure tell sign you don't have good privacy practices. So I think a set of comprehensive website policies demonstrate to your website visitors that you not only respect their rights, but you've gone out of your way to make sure you provide the disclosures you're legally required to make under law. So I think that is why having those policies in place is so important right out the gate.
Yeah. So, tell me how this works at your end then. I mean, so, your wife is obviously the legal brain, and so she is, now I know she has some pretty high credentials. She is like the advisor. Tell me a little bit more about that again.
Yeah, let's just say I married up. I moved up in the marriage spectrum. So yeah, Donata, she's very smart. individual, and she's actually the chair of the American Bar's e-privacy committee. So about
Wow.
600 privacy attorneys report to her, and then she provides guidance to legislators on how to write privacy laws on behalf of the American Bar Association. She's friends with the person who wrote Canada's privacy law. She's from Europe originally, so she's very I mean, I would consider her, I'm a little bit biased in my opinion, but I'd consider her one of the top 5 privacy attorneys in America right now, let alone the world. So
Yeah.
she's very passionate about what she's doing. And she was a contracts attorney, but then focused in on privacy. Obviously, Termageddon really took off. So that's all she does now. And to say the least, it's a full-time job. It is a full-time job for a privacy attorney, someone licensed in law, to be able to monitor this stuff on a daily basis. I think since the time we booked this interview, since it's been a few weeks, 2 more laws have passed that will go into effect next year or the year after, requiring new disclosures. And I think it's just privacy is becoming a bigger and bigger deal as time goes on. And we as business owners have an opportunity to respect people's privacy rights and make the disclosures we're required to make. So.
Absolutely. And what I also actually like is that, you also email us, so we get an email and it just says, hey, this is coming, but, we've basically got your back. And at this point, there's nothing you have to do. Every now and then we have to go back into our account to make some updates, but you're very good at walking us through that. And I want to actually talk about that in a moment. But before I do, I really want to say that to have access to someone like Donata is just amazing, and that to me is also part of, again, running a calm business. It's not just about, having systems that make things easier, but also trust. There's a lot of trust involved. Now, when I trust a service and I trust a person, that makes me instantly feel calmer in how I run my business, so I know, you're not just someone who is like a legal hack, who thinks, oh, because I have come across people like that. They're not actually bar qualified lawyers, but they have learned about privacy laws, and now they, publish those and sell them to small business owners and all that. Whereas in the case of Termageddon, I know we are getting like one of the top privacy lawyers who basically oversees that part, and that to me is pretty amazing, actually, But let's come to the customer service side of things, because you also help people set this up, because even though, your system, is pretty intuitive, but still people feel intimidated a little bit by it, so can they still do that? Do you still get on a call with people and kind of walk them through it a little bit?
Yeah, I do. Wow. Whenever someone doesn't, it just feels overwhelmed. I'm just kind of that hand that walks them through the questionnaire. I certainly don't provide legal advice through it, but I can just help clarify a question, make sure they understand it. And really, is someone who had no idea what privacy was about. I was copying and pasting privacy policies for a living, basically, back in the day. I can say that, like, coming to the other side and working full-time Termageddon, privacy is just like anything else. It's scary at first. Once you absorb the information, you kind of understand how it's working, it kind of becomes intuitive. And I'll give you an example just to kind of open some minds here. Like, all the time, I ask website owners, do you share the data you collect? And they say no. But I give them an example. Do you have a contact form on your website where when someone submits an inquiry, do you receive an email in your inbox with that person's contact details? And they're like, of course. Well, that's a great example of not only collecting data like names and emails, but sharing that data with your email service provider, whether it's Gmail, G Suite, Outlook, or any other third-party email system. That's a great example of sharing data. So, and that's what these privacy laws are all about, making those types of disclosures and ensuring that you're properly respecting people's privacy. And I always say, there's nothing wrong with sharing data. There's nothing wrong with advertising or analytics. These are all great things that I absolutely advocate for. It's just these days, we need to get things like consent first before we start tracking people and sharing their data with companies that then use that data and for their own financial advantage. So I love the fact, I feel like I'm aging quickly here, but I love the fact that people are getting privacy rights these days. And that we as business owners, hey, we got another regulation we got to deal with. There's companies like Termageddon out there that exist to provide the best policies money can buy. So
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely, and honestly, I mean, it's kind of funny because, I mean, I started using Termageddon probably almost 2 years ago. And since then, to be honest, I don't think much about it, Every now and then I get your emails, and but that's kind of about it. And so talking to you again today just reminds me, yeah, just how amazing that is. And and it's funny, because I mean, this is a calm business conversation, and now people might think, well, this is like one big advertising for Termageddon. But honestly, I mean, I am an affiliate actually of Termageddon. Of course I am, but I cannot stress enough that this really is something that has helped me feel so much calmer in my business. It's one, we use many different services, and, I mean, many of us have, affiliates, and programs and software that we recommend. Absolutely, but there are a few that I feel are really quite life-changing, in how I run my business. Now, for me, that has been QuickBooks, and the Dext extension for Squarespace. That just made my bookkeeping so much easier and calmer. I mean, now QuickBooks, unfortunately, they have done away with their affiliate program, but I'm still happy to recommend them. And then Fathom. I love Fathom. Because I stopped using Google Analytics, because to be honest, Google has their fingers in everything, and I find them complicated, and I never really used GA, Google Analytics. And so when they now changed or upgraded to GA4, and it was even more complex, and I thought, as a one-person business, I don't spend my days scrolling through my data. Now, I totally believe there's value in data analysis, absolutely. But way too complicated. And Google, I mean, all the stuff they grab from my website and all that, I just didn't feel comfortable with that, So I then, came across Fathom, which is run by Paul Jarvis, who many might remember as being the author of, Company of One. And I'm actually having a calm business conversation with him next month, So thank you again for the introduction, Hans. And so Fathom, basically collects just the basic data, doesn't collect any personal data, but it gives me just the analytics that I need, and what are my top pages and all of that. And so it's really simple for me to use. It's all I need, and because I am not the product as the customer, I mean, there is a small fee that I pay, but again, it's peace of mind, so I'm happy to pay for that. So I would say, so my top three, services or platforms that I love are obviously Squarespace, that helps me feel a lot calmer in my business. Termageddon, because legal stuff, I love that I don't have to worry about that. And Fathom, because now I have easy analytics and I don't have to worry about Google getting in there and again getting all this data out, from I don't have to have a cookie banner now. I hate those cookie as a designer. Always these cookie banner pop-ups, it's so distracting, and I don't need to have that now because I have Fathom, so I don't want people to think well, I mean, even to be honest, if you think this is like one big advertising, that's okay, because it's just a really, really great service, and it just really helps me so much in my business.
Yeah, that means the world. And for anyone listening, I will note, Kerstin's provided me a whole bunch of questions outside of talking about Termageddon that we'll be getting into, but it means the world to hear that. I mean, we called the company Termageddon. We weren't expecting it to go that far. And sure enough, we've kind of blown up. So it's just so nice to know that we're helping people out. And yeah. I love my job because I'm able to help people with something they don't understand. And every day I get to help people understand things a little bit more. So
yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more about actually, so obviously now we've determined, that your service helps someone like me run a more calm business. But how do you feel about running a calm business, being lean in structure, for instance, how many people do you employ, and And how does that manifest itself for you and your business?
Yeah, so over the last year, we have gone from just Donata and I. We were employed by the business, but now we have, including Donata and I, we have 5 employees total. So we hired 3 more people onto the team. We brought on another agency manager. So we have an agency partner program for web developers. You can learn more on the agency partners page. Mention this video, and we'll hook you up with something special if you do that. But our agency partner manager has been wonderful in the sense that he is very much like me in the sense that we just like helping people, and he had learned, inside and out what privacy is all about before I was, willing to trust him to take a call for the first time, but he's figured it out. And now and it's amazing how employees get to your level so quickly on your knowledge and everything. He's just as good as me now these days, at being able to help customers out and stuff. We hired a CTO. So when I sold my agency,
What's the CTO again? Remind me.
Chief Technology Officer.
That's right.
So he's the main thought leader with all things related to development with our application. So when I ran my agency, we built the Termageddon project on the side when other projects weren't running. And then when I sold my agency, the company that bought us took on the contract work for the application. But it's been so nice to bring someone on full time who's an absolute expert in all things tech. And he's been secretly behind the scenes working on a new interface based on the thousands of calls we've had with customers over the years. Nice. So we have a lot of exciting plans in the future. And then Trevor, our head of marketing, has been absolutely wonderful at communicating in a fun yet educational format online, and educating our audiences, whether they are prospective customers or agencies or just existing customers or agencies, about the benefits of Termageddon, and just constantly demonstrating to people in the public that we're on top of all these changes in privacy laws.
Yeah. And I really like actually that, all things considered, it's pretty low pressure marketing actually. I find like your marketing is more about giving information, and making sure that people can make an informed choice, and that is actually one of the things that also, attracted me to you guys,
Oh, it's
and
great. It's great to hear, because so easily could we just be harping on, look, you're going to get fined, you're going to get sued, all this stuff. And I'm just like, privacy is intense enough. Let's not stress people out more than they already need to be. In fact, that's a big reason why we named our company Termageddon. We wanted to have a little fun and just like, hey, we're normal. Well, we're not normal people, but normal in the sense that we can do business together. And just, we want to have an inviting perspective to this, because I think it's very intimidating, this topic. And it's just like anything else. It's not that bad once you get to learn it.
Yeah. And I hope people also see, that, behind every company, there's a human being, I mean, ultimately, even the big companies, they still have human beings there, Now it's a bit frustrating with the likes of Facebook. You can't actually talk to anyone there, and that again, I think is also, like, I'm very, customer service is very important to me as well in my business. And I know it is for you as well. And actually to be able to get a person on the phone, so like Hans or one of your new colleagues, I mean, how amazing is that? And honestly, for $120 a year, I mean, it's just amazing. Now you mentioned earlier that if people go to the agency page and mention this video, you might have something special for them. What is that?
So we give web designers a free set of our policies forever, to test out on their own website. So our mindset is like, look, if you're a web agency, chances are you've experienced what website policies are about, and chances are you haven't found something that you love. At least that was my situation. So our thought is, let's give agencies a free set of our policies forever, in the hopes that they're willing to take the time to learn about, what are the basics? How can I, as an agency, educate my clients about their potential requirements to comply with laws without feeling like I have to get a law degree to do so. So we start that off by giving agencies a free license so they can take the time to set up policies for their own website. And if they like what they see, they can resell or refer our solution to their clients so that, the clients get protected more than anything, but also the agency makes a new recurring revenue stream. So it's just one of those models where it's win-win-win down the board.
Yeah.
That's a model I really like because I get to work with agencies all day long, which is my background.
Which is your background. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
No.
So if you mention the podcast, we'll throw in an extra free license. Just mention this podcast. So.
Okay, all right. Well, I hope anyone out here who is an agency, like all you web design friends of mine, bear that in mind. That is actually an excellent perk. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I have to say, when I was a web designer, I would have totally been all over that. I mean, back then you guys weren't around, and also this was before the GDPR and all of that, but I think again, so it's not just an amazing service that helps you as an individual, as a like one person or business or solopreneur, but also if you are an agency and have, web design clients, for instance, where privacy policies absolutely matters as well. I mean, what an amazing service, to offer and make a little bit of money as well from the referrals, because it's actually, it's kind of ongoing. Like, every time they pay, you get a little bit of a kickback. And right. So it's actually a really great affiliate program too. I have to say, I mean, for all the affiliate programs that I've tried, that is one of my favorites as well. And
well, I think the trick to what we've learned is we just listen to what our customers and our agency partners have for feedback, and then we just take action on it. That seems to be a nice, flywheel, I think is the term. Like it just keeps going, just because we listen, and it's been fruitful for us.
And that again, I mean, to have someone who listens and to provides excellent service, so how would you say, so when I talk about Calm Business, and this might be a nice way to conclude this call, it's basically all about, like my tagline is, and my tagline changes all the time actually, but right now it's, opt out of hustle culture and, build a profitable business or one person business, that fits you and your life, so how would you say this, like, how does the business you have created fit you and your life and your values?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate in the sense that my wife and I are complete opposites. And when we started this business, we quickly realized we have strengths and we have weaknesses, and we are, I mean, it's like a glove fitting a hand. Like it's a perfect fit in the sense that everything that I love, which is helping people and like communicating, she does not really like. She's much more of like a, how do I create the best, most comprehensive product in the world, where I'm like, I want to help people, so so it's a good combination. But I would say like, especially when you have a team, and I know you mentioned one person, but the fact is you'll have vendors then that are very closely you're working with. So having very good relationships with vendors or with your teammates, especially where, hey, maybe you think differently in life, but maybe that's actually to your advantage. Because, well, I'll give you an example. When I was running my agency, I spread myself out too thin again and again and again. And I came to realize that a lot of the quote unquote by the book type models for running a business are not exactly what makes me happy. I believe the hustle culture is what burns people out. And that hustle culture, it works until it doesn't. It works until you've given up, and then you're just out forever. You don't want to touch it ever again. And I experienced that with my agency. I had so much fun running my agency, but there were some aspects of it where I'm working 18 hours a day and like every day. After 10 years of running it, I couldn't do it anymore. I just mentally couldn't handle it. Granted, Termageddon was taken off at the time, but I think with the second time around with the second business, I really I'll tell you what I shared with Donata before the day before I started Termageddon full time. I was like, look, what really matters in life is us. What matters is people. Like, if this company works, great. We'll have a lot of fun with it. If it doesn't, that is perfectly fine too. We're together, and that's all that matters. And that like, I don't care mindset, like, is in my mind a very calm mindset, because once you realize what you actually value, which is not profits, it's not money, like what you actually value in life, if you focus everything around that, everything becomes amazing. So
yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, I can so identify with that. It really is, again, it's about fitting your life, your values, what is important. And absolutely, I mean, the people in our lives are important. And for those of us who love working with people, providing customer services, so creating a business where you get to do what you love, and you've done that. You love dealing with people and helping people, and your wife, she loves getting into all the technical stuff and just making sure the product is great. And what a great fit, and I think anyone, I mean, hustle culture is just all about making the money, right? And
chasing
feeding,
dollars.
Yeah, exactly. And feeding the pyramid, and I feel, it's, to me, it's actually, a calm business is about the concept of enough, enough time to lead the kind of life that you want to live, and that allows you to just be yourself, and then enough money to support this life.
Yes.
And then that enough looks different for different people, and that's absolutely fine. And but that's why we get on so well.
I
because
love that mindset.
we're very aligned. So, well, thank you so much, Hans. This has actually it's been really nice to just kind of touch base again, and to even for myself, to really once again understand, how much this is such a crucial part of my business, but also a part that I don't have to think about much, and but it's just been nice and reinforcing, talking to you, that I'm in such good hands, and that just makes me feel good. So
Awesome.
do you have any parting words?
Yeah, thank you for making my day. That's so nice of you. And for anyone listening still, like, we've worked years together now, and it's always so nice connecting with you on a call, especially like this, where hopefully we can add some value to people's lives today. And yeah, I would say if you are pursuing that calm mindset, just understand what you value most in life. I'll guarantee it's not money. I'll guarantee it. If you think it's money, then it's wrong. Then you're not there yet. So just spend some time meditating on that.
That's right. Well, with that, thank you so much, everyone, for listening in. And as always, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. Like the video. I always forget to mention that, with these YouTube videos. And
subscribe.
Thank you. And subscribe. Yep. Thank you. And see you next time.